Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
We'd like to welcome our second speaker, Pat. Our main speaker. Second speaker, main speaker.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Pat, and I'm a recovering alcoholic. There is no Pat Allen. There is no Pat Allen. Pat Allen's a name I picked out of the whatever a long time ago. I keep my anonymity. I run a funny line between public life and private life, and I have to watch it really close. So I am Pat, and I'm a recovering alcoholic, and I'm here for the newcomers because I need you. And I want to share my experience, strength, and hope, and if one person gets something out of it, then my drive from Laguna will be worth it, period. What was it like? I'm the daughter, I'm the granddaughter, the daughter, the mother of, the wife of, the sister of, a bunch of drunks. 2 out of 4 of my kids are sober. 2 of them are normies, and I think that's worse. I was born to be a saint, which is I wanted to be like my mother, who was a saint. My father was a drunk. Irish, Catholic, Midwest, same old, same old. I'm 65 years old and a Virgo. And I'm an INTJ, for those of you that want to know, Myers-Briggs. I will be next year sober as long as I drank, 30 years. Now, if your addition is what mine is, and that was a cute addition. I started drinking at 5. And I remember my first drink, and I was leaning up against my dad's knee. He was about 5'8", and there was about this much of my head above his knee, and we were at a picnic. And he was feeding me beer. And my mother, the great unrecovered Al-Anon, was saying, "Don't give her the beer, Marty." And he said those famous Catholic Irish words, "A little beer never hurt anybody." And from that day forward, and I don't remember much of anything, but I remember that. And I remember that from that day forward, wherever he left his stuff, you know, the glass, I literally drank daily, just in what he left around the house, in a can or a, whatever. Now, my mother had interesting ways of teaching my dad not to drink, besides not having sex, which he didn't mind because he had some suppliers on the side, whom I frequently would find in bed with him while my mother was out of town. Which was, normal family in those days. She would not cook meals, but she would make dandelion wine. So you're basically dysfunctional family. We were upper middle class. My father was very, very bright. He was a man that refrigerated the Central Market in Paris. But he was a drunk, but he was a very bright drunk. And I was soon to follow his path. The priest would come over regularly, and he would swear not to drink or screw around, or, there was always those marvelous religious pledges. And I decided, well, I wanted to be like my mother, who was a religious fanatic. I looked like him, and I was drinking like him, and I didn't want to be like my sister, who was a bit of a, She still doesn't know why her kidneys bleed. You know, the first thing she does when she comes home is drink. So I wanted to be like my mother, so I started praying. I don't know if there are any religious fanatics in the room. That's a real tough way. You know, it's Lent all year long. And I'm a gifted person. I don't want to take a vote. I'm always taking votes in group meetings. I'm a very gifted person. Did you notice there's not a lot of retarded people in the program? But there's a lot of smart, gifted people. And I'm one of them. I'm a smart, gifted person who's so smart, I can't learn from anybody. No one. The only way I learn is to just hit the bottom, and that means program 2. So when I got done with playing the organ in church and drinking my little beer and my little dandelion wine and, you know, doing my number, and being a gifted person way back when in the Midwest, they didn't have gifted kid classes. So while you were reading Dick and Jane, I was reading the Encyclopedia Britannica. Now, you can't pass a test on Dick and Jane reading the Encyclopedia Britannica because the questions don't match. So I got sent. I'm that dumb kid that you remember, that weird person that they sit in the back of the room because they don't know whether you're a genius or retarded, and it doesn't make any difference. And I'm gifted, and I can play the piano. I'm taking piano lessons from 5, and I'm drawing pictures. So I was great for bulletin boards. Now, naturally, this is all Catholic school. So I'm doing bulletin boards and Christmas programs and stuff, and then everybody's saying, you know, just stay out of my face. The kids don't want me. Nobody wants me. And that's fine, because I didn't want you either. I didn't like you. And my favorite subject was piranha fish. Now, I know everything you want to know about piranha fish. And way back when, they had an aquarium in the Sears and Roebuck store where they had piranha fish. Now, I now realize, because I'm a shrink now, that was an unresolved manifestation of my inner hostility. Because these little piranha fish have big teeth and big mouths, and they can do you down to a bone in this much time. And I wanted to, because I was a little angry. But a little beer and a little dandelion wine just did fine. My mother would not allow them to flunk me. Every year they tried to flunk me because somebody was going to try to save my soul. And my mother would go to the parish priest and shove and push, and they would social pass me. That's the retarded kid in the back of the room that just keeps sliding through. You see what I mean? So finally I get to high school, and in high school they had me do the yearbooks. They do me the newspapers. I'm doing your dances, your floats. I'm doing everything that you guys are enjoying. I'm staying home, drinking a little beer and reading a little Bible and being a religious fanatic. Now, what do I want to be when I grow up? A nun. Now, I want you to know, being a nun was a good executive decision. I didn't have to deal with those people, men, because I wasn't fond of you very much, and I really appreciate your telling about my relationship expertise, because that's Pat Allen. I always say anybody who likes Pat Allen, I don't like, because that's not me. That's not me, because I'm Pat and I'm a recovering alcoholic. So I would do all your stuff, and I would sit home and I would be hostile, and I want to be a nun. Well, my father wanted grandkids. My father is an Irish Catholic who was missing 6 kids because of my mother's non-sex training program for not drinking. Now, I don't know how many illegitimate brothers and sisters I got out there, but I'll bet you he got those other 6 kids somewhere. So he had designated at least 4 kids apiece to each one of us. And my sister really, you know, she just wasn't up for the whole trip. So I decided not to be a nun. Well, what else are you going to do if you're a virgin and ugly as sin? You know what I mean? There's not much to do, because I was a virgin and ugly as sin. So you got to be a nun. So I go off and I'm going to sign up to be a nun. And he says, no, you're not. And he beat the living tar out of me in some stupid drunken rage. And I mean, really, you know, the only time I got beat was for wanting to be a nun. Does that tell you kind of what my life was like? Because the rest of the time, I was a spook. I don't know if there's any other spooks in the room. You come in a room, I leave the room. You're not home, I like it. I want to play the piano, because I'm a musician. I want to play the piano, read a book, and I want to do it. But I don't want to play with you. I never played a game. I didn't scotch, nothing. Hopscotch, whatever. I don't want you. I want to be alone. So what happens is he beats me up. Now what am I going to do? I'm a virgin, I'm ugly, and I want to be alone. So I decide I'll be a nun, and I'll get married now. So now I got to get married. Now what do you marry when you're a virgin, ugly, and you want to be alone? You marry another spook. Well, luckily, you know, I don't know, if there are any Catholics, do you remember when we offered up things, you know, pains for the poor souls? You know, it's like blue chip stamps, you know, because he used to have this limbo thing in the church. I'm a Catholic again. I dropped out for a while, but they cleaned up their act, and I rejoined. They had limbo, so if you had a bad experience, like your father was throwing furniture that day, or the police were over, and you had to pretend it was for the collection for the policeman's ball, not that your father was throwing furniture around. So you offer up for the poor souls. I now realize it's a suppression training program. You know, I am disassociating and suppressing all of my feelings on behalf of the pain I'm in. So I offer him up and I said, "Dear God, please send me somebody to marry." Well, he did. A German, slightly retarded football coach. Oh, well. So I'm 19 years old, and he's 21, and he's on a scholarship in the crib sheets and a football coach, and a real good football coach, as a matter of fact. And so we get married. 2 virgins. You know what that's like? That's weird. Because you say, was that it? Did we do it? Was that it? Yeah, that was it. And of course, what do you do when you're 19 years old and you're married to somebody you really don't like, but you got to get out of the house? You get pregnant instantly. 4 girls by 26 to a German football coach. My life is working. I've added Mogen David wine, and every time, I'm the only human being who has 10-pound kids, gains 50 pounds, loses 12. So within 4 kids, I'm now up to 205. So now I'm a fat, drunk. My way of practicing birth control is don't wash. Works like a charm. So he gets an opportunity to move to Anaheim because he's a winner coach. Now, by this time, I had started taking, because remember I'm gifted, I started taking a class a semester. I started out music, and I went to art, because that's what I am, a musician and an artist. Put myself through college teaching piano lessons. I'm a musician and artist, and I come out, and he gets to come out to California. I had to take 24 units in one semester, and all my hair fell out. Now I am a 205-pound, stinking, balding, drunk, weird, gifted person in Anaheim. And I get my first job, ghetto school in Santa Ana. Black kids, brown kids, trashy white kids. But luckily, I was no contest. I didn't interfere with their love affairs, vandalism, their riots. I just taught art, little art, right? In this school, this class. Nobody ever came back to this classroom but me. That's it. Full colonels retired left. One woman dropped dead at Thanksgiving. I did just fine, because the room was full of my friends, the people with pains just like me. Now, the problem is when you drink every day for all of these years, your pancreas goes, and you have this funny thing about your nervous system. You start hearing things. So I'm listening to music, and the one school rule I believed in was no radios, pocket radios. The problem is there were no pocket radios. I was chasing music that didn't exist in a ghetto school in Santa Ana, teaching art to kids that hated school but loved me, because I was the only adult that was no contest that they absolutely identified with. So they stuck all the bad kids in. And then he did the wrong thing. This is the beginning of my spiritual path. I don't know if you noticed this, that inadequate people always chop adequate people down to their size. Did you notice that? They're always telling you how stupid you are, but could you write a paper in kinesiology? I never owned a purse till I was 35, never saw a house I moved into. He picked it out and I moved into it. Never bought a stick of furniture, clothing, nothing. Had no rights, nothing. And I thought that's what it was. That's a good Catholic girl. One day, he said that thing that I knew was too much. I was standing in my size 42 slips, cooking my rice-a-roni. I had sipping on my Mogen David and my beer, and he said it, and I said, "That's it. If this is what good gets you, I'm going to be bad." Now, how bad can you get? Murder, suicide, right? Which one did I pick? Murder. Which is actually healthy, because it was extending myself to the, you know what I mean? Now, what are you going to kill somebody with in a boring house? I mean, there's nothing. There's nothing to kill anybody. There's no guns. There's nothing. Meat cleaver. This is before Psycho. Remember the little circle up there? I'm going to kill him. One of us is leaving the planet. And I went after him. And he got to the bathroom, and he locked himself in. It was the first time I ever saw him look frick. Oh, my God. The piranha fish is loose. For this, I got my first therapy experience. UCI's Medical Evaluation Center. Right? Where they said, by this time, I don't know if you know this, that once a maniac dissipates their energy, they're quite calm. So the evaluation was quite good, you know. You're going to therapy. So I was sent off to therapy, and the therapist said to him, "Get rid of her, because we never know when she's going to go off again." So he left. I was 35 years old, drinking my Mogen David and my little beer, and he's gone. Now, I'm a woman with no purse, no banking experience, no grocery. I had to stand in a store to look where you put the cart, because I'm the genius out in the parking lot reading the book while he's doing the grocery shopping. I have no experience at grocery shopping. Now, you think that's funny, but that's what it was. I am there looking and learning. I had to start at 35 learning how to be a human being. I switched from a master's degree in art at Cal State Fullerton over to counseling, because I was in counseling. I wanted to see, what are these people doing to me? What am I supposed to be learning? So I switched over. And the interesting thing is, for 3 years, the one thing the psychiatrist said is, you've got to go out and express. You've got to find out who you are. You've got to have a purse, and you've got to take a trip somewhere. You've got to do something, right? So what did I do? I got a purse, got on a bus, and went to visit my sister, who was at that time a practicing drunk. She's having an affair with somebody, so she picks me up from the bus, takes me to my first bar, and I fall in love with my first bartender, Guido. I literally fell in love for the first time, and I had my first Cutty Sark. Now I'm going to tell you something. From the time I had my first Cutty Sark, life changed. It was a total spiritual experience, because from that time on, I was able to do a lot of things. That's the beginning of my blackouts. I don't know if there's any blackout drunks here. Being a blackout drunk is a very interesting experience because you pass out or whatever it is you do, you're gone, there you are, and you come back. Maybe with your clothes on, maybe without, maybe with somebody you know, maybe with somebody you don't know, maybe 2 or 3 people you don't know, in strange cities. Where did your car go? And I did that for 3 years. You know, it says in the program that women can do the hard drinking. Now I'm not drinking Cutty Sark. Now I'm not drinking beer and wine. I am drinking hard booze. I'm still a teacher. I lose 100 pounds in 10 months. I wasn't dieting. I just wasn't sleeping. There was no sleeping. There was just hitting and moving and hitting. Being a good mother meant I got home at 5 to 7. Hi, kids. I'm going to school. Almost lost my teacher's license. I had a wonderful time in a blackout at a teacher's convention. Apparently, I did everybody. That's where I learned a lot about relationships, as a matter of fact. And the interesting thing was, for 3 years, that's how I did it. That's how I did it. But somewhere in those 3 years, I went to my first AA meeting. The Alano Club in Anaheim and the Laguna Canyon Club. The Laguna Canyon Club is my home club, but the original one is the Anaheim Club. I started going there. My psychiatrist, I switched from a man to a woman. She said I live in the glitter world too much. And I don't know how I got to the program, but I did. And at every meeting, I would stand up and I would say, would you please start a prospective members chapter? Because I had no comprehension of what I could do without drinking. There was no way, because I thought I was having fun. I was having sex, didn't remember it. I wasn't there when I was having it, but the stories were wonderful. I was with people, I was skinny, I was everything that I thought that normal people were. I mean, the fact that my mother-in-law was going to take my kids and my husband was long since gone, didn't matter. I almost lost my teaching license. Not job, license. The interesting thing was I did that for 3 years and attended meetings regularly. Had a sponsor. I had a sponsor, Sue M., from my end of the world. She took me to she took me with her. I want you to know I went to the Pink Elephant Balls. I went to meetings on a regular basis. I was willing. The only problem was I was not able to get to my bottom. I knew I was a drunk. I knew I had a problem. And the way I got in touch with having my problem, you know what? It didn't matter the license, it didn't matter the screwing, it didn't matter the mother-in-law, it didn't matter the job, didn't matter it. You know what got me to my bottom? I did the thing that told me I was a drunk. And it was what my dad did. He used to take my sister and I out for walks so that he could go drink. And I took 5 little girls on a train, thank God it was a train, to Elvira Street in Los Angeles. Took them on the train, and I had my drinking figured out. You know, when you take 5 kids on a birthday party, this is how you do it. You send them off, and then you go to the bar, and then you drink so that you don't black out. You don't go with them. They go that way, and you go this way. So I sent the 5 kids, and I'm over here at the bar, Mexican and I'm drinking margaritas or some dumb thing. You know, I said, I'm not going to black out. The train is supposed to leave at 6. I'm going to take the kids back in the train, get rid of the kids, leave the kids, go off to do my drinking, my partying afterwards. The train didn't leave till 8 o'clock. What do you do when you've started drinking and it's 6 o'clock and you're in the Elvira station? That's my last drunk. The train station on Elvira Street. And I saw myself handing money to little girls to get lost. And I saw myself there, and I didn't black out. And I got on the train. It was the first time I saw myself drunk, stagger, slur, whatever. Saw myself drunk. I got home like 10 o'clock. I called up my sponsor, and I said, I may be a drunk. This is 3 years. I may be a drunk. I went to my regular Sunday morning meeting, the Alano Club, and I said, I may be a drunk. Well, of course, the room's going, they're sick to death. And I want to share this with you. After the 11 o'clock meeting, a man with 1 year sobriety, 1 year, stood with me from 12 o'clock till 3 o'clock the first Sunday in January 1971, and he talked to me about what it would be like to sober up. What was it like for me to sober up? It was going to be boring, fat, ugly, sexless, retarded, alone. Sobriety looked like the worst thing I could do. Boring. 3 o'clock, I said, okay, I'll do it, because I just can't stand the sight of those kids looking at me and the awareness that I'm doing to them what my dad did to me. I can't, that's more than I can pay. So that night, I went to the beginners meeting and I said, I am an alcoholic for the first time. They made me secretary of the meeting that night. I've been there for 3 years, for God's sake. They made me secretary of the meeting, the beginners meeting. And from that night or that day till today, I have been living this program. Now, what does that mean? Number one, first of all, I've got to understand I'm too smart to be sober. I liked what you said. If all I did was say, I have to turn my brains in. I'm a therapist now. But the truth is, I'm a therapist because I need to practice my 12-step everywhere, every day, all the time, all the time. You know why? Because my brain will take me to a funny place. Do you understand? I have to run everything through. My whole life is group conscience. Group conscience. That's all. I have people that I have to talk to because if I'm left to my own devices, I'm the smartest thing I know, which is also called nuts. That's one thing. I carry my big book. I carry it all the time to read. I do my babies all the time. I have to. I have to run me through somebody. I've got to help somebody. I have to go wherever you ask me to go. Laguna to here on Saturday night. Real thrill. Gotta go. Gotta go. Because there's maybe somebody here that can hear what I'm saying, just like I heard what somebody was saying. I practice my principles in all my affairs. Integrity, virtue. I love my serenity. I love being centered in myself. I like being at peace. I like a life of attraction rather than promotion. That's the way it is to live. I'm remarried to a man in the program who, when I'm nuts, thank God, he can practice. He practices his program, and I love how he practices his program. I love being in service because on a daily basis, the more I put out and tell my truth, the more I get to stay serene and centered and sane and sober. And I have done all of the promises have come through for me. And that doesn't mean life has been good. 2 out of 4 kids have had cancer. People have robbed me because I don't give a damn. It's easy to rob somebody on the spiritual path because they're not watching. Bankrupted. I've had, whatever. The guy that I sobered up with or married, bought him a Harley. He took all the furniture, went back to his mother. I hope he's sober. Mostly give back. Mostly I never forget that the 12 steps and the 12 traditions, way I run my business, the 12 steps and the 12 traditions run my life daily, moment to moment, in all my affairs. And in exchange for that, I get to be 65, physically healthy, the love of my children, the love of my grandchildren, a nice man to be married to, not necessarily a perfect life, but I get to have what the promises promise me. All I've got to remember is self will run riot. I must not live life alone. I must have sponsors, and I must sponsor. I must go where I'm asked. I must constantly, moment to moment, remember that I am sober and alive by the grace of God as long as I serve Him. I thank you so much for allowing me to come here and serve you. I pray that someone got something from it. Thank you.
Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.